Welcome to this lecture from ZBRUSH Character and Concept Sculpting Module 1 course. Now I've decided to do a series of videos showing little parts of my character and concept sculpting module 1 course, which I've got out, which you can find a link below. The reason I'm doing this is that I want to show you quick things that I'm going to be doing in the course, and you might decide actually you want to take this course because I go into a lot more detail over things. So I'm going to do a few videos in series here, and basically this is a model that you can see here, and you can see the course key points that I've got there, such as hair sculpting, sculpting base to high res, create and insert brushes, micro mesh, surface noise, nanomesh, curve on surface brushes, high detail projection, stitching, decoration, posing your sculpt, and also rendering, and a hell of a lot more. So check out the link below to see the full course details and what you're going to get if you decide to purchase the course. So these are little snippets. Another reason I'm doing it is that you can see if you like my teaching style. If you like it, then you might want to spend hours listening to me do the actual course, which is over 180 video lectures and literally must be about 40-50 hours worth of recording. So let's begin, and the first thing we're going to cover here is micro mesh. Okay, so in this little lecture here, I'm going to demonstrate very quickly how we can apply a micro mesh. Now, like I said before on other little courses that I've done, stuff is covered in detail on the character sculpting course, character detailing course, module 1. So you can see the link down in the description to maybe take that course. So like a bit like the micro mesh, nano mesh, this relies on the fact that your polygons should really be square, just so that it's very evenly distributed. Now this is just from the demo soldier that I've got in Lightbox, so it just ships with ZBrush, and I've just taken the shirt. So there's a few bits here that are not going to work very well, but for this demo it's going to prove the point. The important thing is down the front and the back is very clean, so that's going to give us a nice. Down here it's going to be a little bit all over the place, but I'm not worrying about that too much. What I'll do quickly is I'll just do a mirror and weld to make the sides both exactly the same, and I'll just Z remesh that again. So let's just Z remesh that. It should give us a cleaner geometry. It's a bit cleaner. Okay, good. And they're exactly the same. Right, so applying the micro mesh, a little bit different this, because we're going to apply a tool that we've already made, but it's actually going to show it in a preview. When we actually best preview render it, then we'll actually see it, but you can take that and you can convert it into geometry, as I'm about to show you. So I'm going to just show you a little tool that I've created now. And so what we've got here is we just got one tool on top of another, and it's in a square block. Now that square block has got, as you can see, 4 sections. Okay. And I've got this tool as well. Now what I need to do is just check the poly groups, because you've got 2 poly groups, because it will maintain these. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to merge it down onto the other one. So I'm just going to do a merge down. Okay, so there we go. So we've got our piece. I'm just going to rename this, and we're going to call this pattern. Okay, I'm just going to hit enter. All right, now let's jump back into the vest that we created, which is here. And now we're going to activate micro mesh, and we're going to go in and start to do our stuff. Okay, so under modified topology, that's under the geometry tab, we have this micro mesh. I'm just going to hit here, and it's going to bring up the quick picks. So I'm going to grab the pattern, and it's going to tell us that we need to turn on micro mesh in the render settings for it to be visible. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to come up to render settings, and I'm going to come down to the render properties, and we're going to make sure that draw micro mesh is on. Now you might have seen that something's happened to here. We've actually got things going on, because it's actually now put that micro mesh in position, and it's just done it in the square blocks. So if I do a best preview render now, what we're going to see is we're going to see that mesh come across. So let me just turn this off, and then it makes it a bit clearer to see. got poly groups on, they sort of get in the way a little bit. So there we go. So there we go. We've got the pattern. So if you're happy with that pattern, now do remember it is a micro mesh and it's based on each of the polygons. All right. So this is important to remember because as soon as we move it, it'll come out of that. But if I divide this up, also it's better if it's one skin as well. This has got two skins. So I'm just going to go into our poly frame. I'm actually going to turn micro mesh off, and I just want to go down and make this one skin. So I'm going to go to poly groups, and we're just going to basically group by normals. Actually, reflow by edges. Nah, so I should have checked this before I was doing it. I don't want to get into too much of this because I cover it all in the course. But let me just delete out some parts of it that I'm not going to need. I'll tell you what, let's just delete out some of this stuff as it works better with one skin. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to get across to you guys. So let me just delete some of this out, just using Control Shift Alt to delete those out of the way. I'm not going to be too careful because it's just to show you the actual purpose of it. Let's do that. All right, so it's a little bit better. All right, now I've hidden those pieces, so I'm going to go into our geometry, and then down to modify topology and delete hidden. Okay, now I can shoot back into my micro mesh. So that, remember, that's under modify topology and micro mesh. I'm going to turn that back on again, select that pattern. There it is. Now I'm going to do a render now. It'll look a bit cleaner. All right, let me just turn that off. So there we go. So what if I divide this piece up? If I divide it up, I'm going to get an even more complex pattern. So I'm going to hit the divide. That will basically times this by 4, and I'm going to hit the best preview render now. And what you're going to see is you're going to see the micro mesh come over. It's going to be a lot more. See, there we go, a lot more detailed. Let me zoom in and do a render, then you can see. So it actually does it by each of the coded squares. This is the point to get across. The same applies with nanomesh as well. So that looks pretty cool. So if I now wanted to, that's a double skin there, which is a bit of a pain, but doesn't matter. So if I want to convert this to geo now, because you could render this out and it wouldn't really matter on the resolution of the parts that we created here. But if we were turning this into geo, if this was like, say, 1 million polygons, this little poly circle, and I was to convert it to geo, it would be 1 million for each of these, which your system will crash. All right, so if you want it detailed like this, you might be best to leave it and render it out with best preview render. Now, I'm not sure whether this, I don't think this comes across into Keyshot as a render, so that would be a problem. So you need to bear that in mind. So that's why I keep these quite simple. I keep these shapes low poly so that it doesn't cause a problem when I convert it. So we're going to do a conversion now and turn this into actually geometry so that we don't have to do our preview render. And to do that, we just hit this under the geometry tab, convert BPR to geo. If I click that, what's going to happen now is this is going to be geometry. Notice if I move it around, it's no longer previewing, and we can actually sculpt and do all the things that we normally do on this stuff. That was just a smooth brush, because it is now geo. And if I mouse over this, you can see how many polygons this has taken. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 2.9 million to do that. So if I had a really complex, if I go to this piece now and we just mouse over it, there's 388 polygons in this. So that's why it's creating a lot of a lot of polygons in this piece because of the resolution. So if I had my pattern, like I said, on like 1,000 polygons or something, then it would be 1,000 for each of these squares, and your system will probably crash. So before I'm asked that question, I'm just going to tell you that's what's going to happen. So I keep it very simple, and then if I have to, I can subdivide it inside here, because now this is geometry that I can subdivide and sculpt and do everything else too. So that is the micro mesh. Looks pretty cool. as extra things and use quite a lot. Remember, the key points from this lecture is to use the micromesh and the nanomesh. You know, if you can quad your model up or retopologize it so that it's nicely quadded into squares, that's going to make it a lot better for doing these kind of patterns really quickly. So this is how I kind of done the arm pieces in that model that you saw, and used nanomesh for the micromesh for the nanomesh for the chainmail. So that was how that was done. So if you haven't looked at the micromesh course, then you can find that on my channel. So yeah, subscribe, and yeah, and if you like the course, you'll see a link down the bottom. So sign up for the course. You've got a special promotion there. This will be a limited one. I will be turning it off at some point. So grab this course while you can, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you in a course where we can well, I can show you more techniques and also discuss any problems that you might have as well. Welcome to this course, Module 1, ZBrush Concept and Detailed Character Sculpting course. So this module is one of a series taking you from initial design all the way to a ZBrush game ready asset, with hours of video training. Now in this particular module, module 1, we're going to be concentrating on actually concept and detailing our character to get it like the course image that you're seeing in front of you now. So along the way, we're going to be covering a host of features, including the following: creating a base meshes. I'm going to show you 3 different ways of doing that. I'm going to be building a high resolution body from the base mesh, and we'll be detailing it through all of the steps. So I'll be taking it from a simple base mesh. I'll be showing you 3 different ways of creating those base meshes, and then we'll be actually taking one of those and detailing that model up. We'll be creating a likeness sculpt of the face. We'll be using Dynamesh and the difference between subdivided sculpts and Dynamesh. So I'll be showing you the concepts there. Be looking at topology tools for rigging and creating clean geometry, using Spotlight for reference and looking at reference in general and the importance of it. We'll be looking at different methods for tiling alphads and full demonstration of those methods. Be creating hair, fur and leather using the sculpting brushes inside of ZBrush. We'll also be looking at using micromesh and nanomesh for armor, and to be able to easily swap the micromeshes and nanomeshes out to quickly give you a different effect. We'll be using the surface noise and the noisemaker plugin. Be creating complex Boolean actions for subtraction and creating a U-mesh from these. We'll be creating insert, multi-mesh and curve on surface brushes, both appending and adding new brushes, plus saving them as well. Be keeping your scene organized and using references. We'll also be, when we finished detailing the high res parts, subtools, we'll be using T-pose to pose our final sculpt. Now I'll also be showing you how to use Z-spheres for rigging as well, for setting Z-spheres up as rigs inside of ZBrush. I'll be showing you how to save custom views and save the document as well as the tool. We will look at materials, color and lighting, as well as rendering out from ZBrush, and as additional feature I'll be showing you how to bring that into KeyShot and render out from that as well. And then finally we're going to end up with compositing our render passes. In this case I'm going to be using Photoshop to render them in. Now additionally, as well as all of what I've just mentioned, I'll be showing you many tips and tricks along the way. So I would expect this course to be completed in about 3 to 4 weeks. Just make sure you understand each step before you move on. There's over 180 video files, so it's hours and hours and hours of content, and some of the assets are supplied to get you started. Now there's support and a Q&A area that you can post questions, because there's going to be questions. It's a very complex course. So the software that you're going to need to complete this course is ZBrush. I'm using version 2018. You can use 2018 or 2019. For compositing, I'll be using Photoshop, but you can use something similar. Pretty much all of the packages, such as GIMP, which is a free one, will allow you to set it up as well. And if you've got KeyShot, great, because I show you how to render in that as well. So as I mentioned, this is module 1 of many of the courses that I'm going to be building on. So I'm going to be using this same asset in the next module, module 2, and so on, until we complete all of the modules to get us to a game ready model, which I'll be actually putting into Unity or UDK, Marmoset toolbag for viewing, rendering, creating turntables. So if you're interested in game, this is module 1 of it. Follow them all the way through. This is by far, I would say, one of the longest parts of the course, the module, because you're actually sculpting something, and this is the base for what we're going to use to create all of the other courses from. So I really hope you enjoy this course, and yeah, I look forward to seeing you on the course and answering your questions.